Hello, and today I'm delighted to welcome Andrea to this space where we discuss change makers impacting other people's lives while living a fulfilling and inspired lives themselves. And Andrea is going to be sharing her story about. I can remember when we first met in our late 20s, and we've stayed connected for many, many years. I can remember we came over to your house one time for dinner, and your husband mentioned that like you were an avid reader of 40 books a year, and I was so impressed. And you really knew good writing. And I remember that night that you mentioned you wanted to write a book, and I thought that that was just so cool. Today on this channel, we talk about change makers, and being a change maker is in part choosing to speak up and stand up and to act for good in the world. And it's going to go against the grain a lot of the time, even if it's our internal resistance and beliefs and that sort of thing, or if it's societal beliefs. And people who are change makers, just for a point of reference, would be people like Mahatma Gandhi, Anne Frank, Martin Luther King, Greta Thunberg, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, AOC is much easier for me to say, and J.K. Rowling, the first billionaire author, mother of three, and most significant donor of her personal wealth to charity. And I'm so pleased to ask you about becoming a change maker and really shifting. And I remember, before we talk about you and your business, I remember when I met your husband, we were at your home, and your husband was a very accomplished runner and athlete, and he had run the oldest, largest, and most formidable comrades race. I'm probably not saying that correctly, in South
Okay.
Africa.
Yes, he's run it 3 times. Yes.
Oh, 3 times. So I've heard that it's an ultra marathon. Is it 80 Ks and it's 40-degree heat or?
Yeah, look, it varies a little bit year to year, but it's usually in the region of about 85 to 90 kilometers. And it takes place in June, which is technically winter, but so anything can happen in South African or African weather. So some years it is very hot. So yes, it's a monster of a race. It's all run on road as well. Usually ultra marathons are done on trail, which is just a little bit gentler on the body, but this is a 90-kilometer road race. But it is South Africa's equivalent of, say, the Melbourne Cup, in that the whole country stops for the day. If anyone is nearby, they'll come and stand on the side of the road and cheer. And yeah, it's a public holiday, and it's a great source of national pride. So it's a big thing in South Africa, but it's a massive undertaking. You have to qualify to run it, and it's a very big run. But when
Wow.
I met my husband, we've known each other for I think about 30 years now. And for the first probably 15 to 20 of those, I used to go and support him at events like that and others, and stand on the side of the road and genuinely, fundamentally think, what are these idiots doing? Like, don't they know they could be at home watching TV, eating Doritos, having a bubble bath? Like, who would sign up for this? I really just didn't understand it. So
Oh, I love that. And I love it so much because that's how I knew you.
yes.
And out of the blue, you became a running coach. So you caught the bug in such a big
Mm.
way. And tell me all about how life was, as you just have, before you became an ultra athlete. What would you have done for fun? What kinds of things did you find comfort in or exhilaration in or?
Well, as you've already said, I've been a massive book reader all my life. I'm a bookworm, I'm an academic, and I'm very devoted to things like musical theatre and medieval literature, and just nothing to do with sport. In fact, when I was at school, I would usually pretend to be sick to get out of doing activity. The only exception really was the horse riding, but
Exactly.
even that, you while it certainly is physical, it's mostly sitting down, right? So it's not the same as signing up to run an 80-kilometer race.
No,
So, yeah,
absolutely.
it's been a real real process of personal transition.
Yeah.
And you use the words out of the blue, but I would sort of say that it really has actually been very incremental. It's been very,
Tell
very
us
slow
about those
process.
increments. Yeah.
Yes. And look, it started by looking at my husband's example and seeing what it looked like to live life on purpose and to sort of chase down something hard and do something physical. And I could see that it was making a difference in his life. He's a person who struggles with stress and health and lots of things. And I could see how he was deliberately choosing to live well as a way to cope with all of that. So that set the example initially. But then, as many of us do, we went through lots of sort of personal upheavals with a big health challenge on his part. He was diagnosed with cancer at a very young age. Fortunately, he's fine now. But in quick succession after that, I also lost two girlfriends to two different cancer diagnoses. And I think that was probably the wake-up call that I needed. And I realized, and I actually had this epiphany while I was lying down, and the irony is not lost on me. But I was lying on the couch and watching daytime television and eating too much in the way of ice cream and Doritos. And I was wasting the one thing that those three people that I loved would have given anything for, which was a healthy body. And I don't know where that it's unlike me to have that level of self-awareness, but it arrived one day and I thought, I've got a chapter in my life when I'm healthy. So it would be a very poor tribute to them if I didn't mark it, if I didn't use it, if I didn't see what my body was capable of. I certainly know that it's good at eating a block of chocolate in one sitting, but what else can it do? And why don't I give myself that set of memories?
Yes, well, I have to pause you there. I was hanging on every word. I'm so sorry to have heard of both of your friends passing and what their journeys would have been like in battling cancer, and for your husband as well with his own struggle with cancer, which thank goodness he was able to overcome. And that epiphany you had is really a very inspiring. And how did it feel in your body or your mind when that happened?
Well, look, the feeling at the time was mostly I felt like I was being pinned down. As I said, I was in that moment, I was lying on my back on the couch, and I felt like I had a bowling ball on my tummy, and I was being pinned to the couch. But I, at the time, saw that very much through the lens of like, oh, poor me that has to put up with all of this grief, having lost two girlfriends and, carrying the mental load of a husband with health challenges and two young boys at the time and financial challenges and work challenges. And, oh gosh, my life is so hard. Poor me. I was so sorry for myself. So that was the physical weight of what I perceived to be all of that kind of load. And then the flipping of it, I can't tell you what it felt like really. I don't think there was a physical sensation around changing the narrative, but the physical sensation came afterwards when as I said, I chose to become more active. And at the time, that involved running because it was the cheapest thing to do at a time when we didn't have much money. And I could literally just put on a pair of shoes and go outside. And also, it was very easy to get my husband's support if I told him I wanted to go for a run. If I had said I wanted to go and get my nails done or go to the movies or go out for drinks with the girls, I would have had resistance at the time because we had young kids and, financial
All the
challenges.
usual reasons. Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
But if I
Very
said I
valid.
wanted to go for a run, I discovered that I got his support suddenly. Oh, that's awesome. Off you go. Have a wonderful time. Good on you. So I guess I was really cheating because I was just looking for time to myself.
You find a way, don't you? But it was
Yeah.
obviously working for you, or you wouldn't have done it.
Exactly. And very quickly, I realized how the running, or to be honest, at the time, it was a lot more like walking. But it was untangling the mess in my head very quickly in a way that nothing else ever had. And, I would come back home and I was more present and I was calmer and I was a little bit better version of myself. And And I very slowly began to realize that I didn't particularly like running or physical activity. I never have. And to be honest, I don't think I still do. But I really, really like who I am after the run. So that's really where the discovery was. And I continued to do it. And I slowly, very slowly, was able to go a little bit further or a little bit faster, or run a bit more without the walk breaks and so on. And in time, that too, that sense of progress was a marker. At a point in life when you kind of buried in that morass of kids and nappies and bottles and logistics and naps and school homework and blah blah blah, it was hard to find a way to feel like I was getting better or becoming better at something. But the running was a way for me to feel a little bit proud. And I discovered that being proud of yourself is quite a remarkable thing and not something that you can get cheaply. You can't go to the store and buy self-pride.
Oh, I
It
love
has to
that.
be
It
earned.
doesn't come cheaply.
Yes, it has to be earned, but it's such an amazing thing when you arrive at it. So, for me, it was the metrics of the first 5K, the first 10K, the first half marathon, whatever. And those medals, and like, oh my God, look what I earned today,
Oh, I know the feeling.
So yes, it was really, that was just my way in. And there's lots of ways to do this. I'm not saying that running needs to be for everybody, but when you find your thing that makes you a little bit better at who you were meant to be, then it's quite remarkable.
So well said. And I love that description of the light bulb moment where you just felt the weight of that download of information and that perspective that you were throwing away a life, and that you found a way to get into action. And it's through that action that we become so much more inspired, isn't it? And, innovative, and we're a whole different person versus I'm dreading the next hour, basically, which anyone that's had children and navigated many different things at the same time, it always seems to happen all at once, definitely. But I have to bring everyone up to speed in terms of the business that you created around your running journey. And so the name is absolutely brilliant. I don't know how you did it. It's probably another download that you got. So The Slow Coach is the name of Andrea's business. And for our audience, I'll share The Slow Coach aims to create a safe, inclusive and welcoming space for runners who might otherwise be intimidated by running programs. No matter your age, experience, fitness levels, size or aspirations, we can get you from flat to finish line. And so that thing of going beyond a runner to becoming a coach and calling yourself a coach and being able to impact other people, what was that journey like? I mean, there must have been some mindset shifts there.
That was huge. And look, it took probably, I would say, 10-ish years of me running before the coaching idea came along. So the running itself was a journey, but as I've already mentioned, I'm not much of a natural athlete. I still am not. I don't have any kind of real talent. I don't have any kinetic abilities. I don't have that physical intelligence that you see a lot of athletes just have. And I certainly don't have any competitive spirit. I've never had this burning desire to win or be the best or any of those things. So I really, as I said, I really loved the process of becoming a runner, but I was never particularly good at it according to any of the general metrics out there. I was never fast. In fact, and I still am not. I'm a very slow runner by most measurements of running. But that never bothered me. As I said, I'm not competitive, so it didn't worry me that I was quite happy to toddle along the back of the pack. But for me, the running was all about time alone, time on feet, time to make sense of my life, time to rehearse the hard conversations with my children or my boss, time to grieve the people that I was missing. It was about lots of other things. It wasn't really about getting faster or getting better or getting thinner or getting a spot on the podium or producing more power or having a higher VO2 max. And much as I loved being around runners, I just found that generally the running narrative at the time, this is about 10 or 12 years ago, maybe a bit more, that was really the main conversation. Everybody measured running in times, metrics, how fast they could run, how fast they could do a 5K or a 10K or a half or whatever, or whether they were beating their PBs. And I didn't really want to take anything away from that, and I still don't. I think that's amazing. But as I said, it wasn't my measure of running. And so one day, as often I was out in a group run, but very quickly got dropped and left behind and was toddling along at the back all by myself. And that's not a problem. I'm quite happy there. I'm an introvert at heart. But I just had this realization of like, why is the conversation still about what race you're doing or how well you did it or who you beat? Why does the running conversation not center more about the value of becoming proud of yourself or the, being better than who you were 6 months ago? And I found myself saying, I need a coach for slow people. I need a slow coach. And then, of course, because I'm also a marketer, I went, oh, good name.
I love it. Absolutely.
And then, as often happens, I toyed with the idea for a while, and I went looking for a coach. And in fact, I even engaged one very, very briefly. But for whatever reason, I engaged a coach who was young, male, competitive, and didn't have children. And then, of course, I wondered why he didn't understand me.
Yeah.
But he set me, in our sort of first or second week together, he set me a 5:45 tempo run, which is just
right,
amazing, but way beyond my capabilities. And then so I thought, I really need a coach who gets slow runners. I need a slow coach. And then, of course, as the saying goes, if you can't find it, maybe you need to become it. So I had to pluck up the courage to get some coaching accreditation. And that in itself was a process. It didn't come quickly. I didn't feel like I was allowed to be a running coach because I don't look like a runner. I don't sound like a runner. I don't behave like a runner. I don't think like a runner. I'm not a runner, whatever. So there was a long fight with myself to sort of find the courage to go and get the coaching accreditation I needed. And then once I had that, to sort of go to market and say, please somebody hire me. But so all of that, of course, it's just akin to the writing. It was a process of learning and failing and figuring it out and trying and coming at it lots of different ways. But ultimately, I found the process to be so incredibly, profoundly satisfying and transformative. And people have been so incredibly supportive of it. And, I haven't struggled from day one. I've had clients, I've had support, I've had such endorsement from the running community, especially from the runners who are fast, thin, pretty, capable, competitive. They seem to be so glad that I'm there. So, running is actually an incredibly inclusive thing, but it just doesn't feel that way always when you're on the outside.
Well, you know what?
Yeah.
There's actually a thing there because a lot of the very traditional, runners that are fast and go long distances and that I've spoken to, they say all the right things, but our ability to believe them, that they really do mean just come for a park run. It's fine.
Yeah.
You can walk, whatever. And I don't actually know if you can walk park run, but
You can.
yeah, they
Yeah.
say it, and the barrier is us, isn't it? If we will say, oh, okay.
It's often us. Not always. There's definitely there is a physical element to it, but most of the work is mental. And in fact, I find that both with my running and with my coaching, the muscle that works hardest on any run is the one between your ears. So it's just giving yourself permission to be imperfect, to be every expert was once a beginner, to just start where you are, give it a go. And yeah, I think even the fast runners remember that too, and they are actually mostly incredibly supportive and will celebrate your achievement no matter what it looks like.
That is just so inspiring that it really breaks down a lot of the stereotypes that people assume when they only see runners and don't speak to runners, and they've not had a good experience with it. So what would your proudest moments be, as it could be personal or business? Because you're kicking some really big goals in that battle against our own inner resistance, or is it as we, mature and actually share our gifts with the world?
Yeah.
So
Wow.
yeah, proud moments.
So, well, I think that there's been many, and of course, some of them can be measured in distance or time on feet. So getting to the first 5K, the first 10, the first half marathon, and so on. My first half marathon, I actually slept with my medal on that night because I was so proud of it. I was
Oh,
literally vibrating with how
I
happy.
love it.
Yeah. But I think I'm also very proud of coming up with the idea of a running community for slow people, coming up with the idea of the slow coach, and having the courage to see that accreditation process through. I went into some training workshops where everybody else in the room was either sort of many of them were Olympians or ex-Olympians, or they were competing at the World Championships, or they were representing Australia in, various ultra running endeavors. So their conversation was always around sort of peak performance. So I was proud that I could find the courage to sort of hold space in a room like that and say, well, my peak performance was getting my first 2Ks done, kind of thing. But again, I got such validation from them. So that was amazing. And then of course I'm really proud that my business has been quite successful. And
Absolutely.
I'm proud that I am transforming. And it's not really just about the process of becoming a couch potato and now someone who runs marathons or ultra marathons.
Mm.
I'm an introvert who has found a form of confidence. And I found the ability to talk to people in the public spaces.
Mm.
And I found the confidence to advocate for slower runners and back of the packers. And I've been able to push back on run directors who want, shorter cutoff times. And I've created a following where people seem to listen to me and respect what I have to say, and that I can influence the way that running is being perceived in the general community. But I can also make space for runners like me, so those who are older or bigger or injured, or who are coming back to running after a baby or after a break, or who are struggling with mental health or lack of mojo, or all the many millions of other reasons that we may or may not come to running. But I'm proud that I have found my people. I've found my misfits and my brand of weird, and I'm proud that I've given it a name.
Oh, I love that. And I have a saying that the world really wants your weird, because that part of us that we hold down and suppress is the thing that makes us so different, in that you hold that space where people can become and discover so much about themselves. And what do you think you would love the legacy of Slow Coach specifically to be?
Oh gosh.
Mm.
I think Maya Angelou said that you actually have no say over what your legacy will be. But hopefully she's wrong. I don't know. I think I would like it to be that there is massive power in intentional movement, and that it is possible to live life on purpose and not just let things happen to you, that you can change your narrative. So I do feel like both in my personal life and in my business, I feel like I was born a certain way. I've always been creative. I've always been arty. I've always been a good reader, a good listener, a kind person, blah, blah, blah. None of that has changed. But I was not born an active person. I was not born an athlete. I was not born a runner. But I've chosen to become that. So I've actually taken something that was not given to me, and I've extracted it, and I've changed it, and I've fundamentally altered one of the pillars of who I am through intentional effort, intentional movement, and through choosing hard things. And I think that I would like my legacy to be that through whatever your hard thing is, and it doesn't have to be running, but it is possible to turn emotion into motion. It is possible to find healing through movement, through thumping away on your vagus nerve, or some sort of kinetic giving back to the universe. There's some kind of releasing of all of that stuff. It does come out in a weird way through movement. And that you can that you can become something that you didn't think was possible. Like I could not 10, 20 years ago have conceived of a version of me who could run 80 kilometers. It
I
wasn't
believe
even
you can.
something
It's
I couldn't
amazing.
even have run 5
4 times my
kilometers.
limit.
So you can become so much more that you think you can,
Mm.
but it starts with this. You take the first step. It's a left foot and then a right foot and then a left foot and then a right foot. That's all it takes. You do that enough times, you will eventually get there. It's an absolutely immutable
That's
reality.
the truth. Yeah.
Just keep moving.
So incredible. And
Yeah.
what a legacy. I
Thank
mean,
you.
this is a different question because the legacy piece was very powerful. And when you took out that part of yourself and that actually expanded into shedding so much light into your life that wasn't there in that particular pillar, in your family line, when you think about your mum and the women around you, would there be many runners?
Oh, look, actually, I was about to say no. But the truth is, my mum was actually a very talented sprinter in her youth.
Oh, there you go.
She was an she did very well at the school sort of athletics carnival.
Mm.
As you know, as does my husband, and our eldest son is a phenomenal athlete too. I think that possibly on my mum's side there was a talented uncle too, but always in the short, sort of explosive type movement, so the sprinting and the rugby and
Yes.
things like that. I
Yeah.
don't know that there's anybody who is specifically an endurance athlete, but everybody has remarkable endurance in
Mm.
my family. And my mum
Mm.
in particular.
Yes.
And at the moment, she is struggling through her final chapter of a disease called multiple myeloma, which is a very painful form of blood cancer.
Ah.
So I'm seeing how she is living out her last chapter through endurance and through grit and through a state of serenity that she's achieved. So that has actually set the bar for me too in my running. I think, if my mum can do it, so can I. So yes, there's definitely endurance in my family, but maybe not athletes in the traditional sense.
Mm. Mm. That's right. Oh, fascinating. And I'm so sorry to hear about your mum and her current journey, but it's so interesting how you're observing
Yeah.
what she's exercising through that in that endurance and finding serenity. It's so powerful. And how we navigate the human journey, it's really just up to us,
Mm,
isn't it? And the mindset,
absolutely.
which isn't easy.
Yeah.
You've said it so well, and we all can relate to the parts of the different chapters.
Mm.
And so, is there anything you'd like to share about what's coming up with Slow Coach? Because I'm sure that people would be interested in finding out more about your community and all of this change making and smashing those beliefs about, people in their living rooms thinking, yeah, running's not for me.
Oh, yeah, thank you. Well, look, anyone who is interested in what I have to say is very welcome to follow me on Facebook or Instagram or through my website. And you can just find me through Run with the Slow Coach. I do have a free community running club in St. Ives every Thursday night that you're welcome to attend if that's practical to you. But if you're further away, I also offer quite a lot of different online coaching packages to support you in whatever your running journey looks like. That literally can be from, whether it's getting to the corner or getting to the end of your first ultra marathon. But as I've said, I generally work with sort of people who see themselves as middle or back of the pack runners. And if you just want to talk about running, it's literally like my favorite thing to talk about. So reach out anytime.
That is just fantastic. And finally, when you have hard days or weeks, what would you say works for you in terms of shifting your mindset, your energy, or your ability to just get back up again?
Oh, big one. And look, that's a question that has kind of informed pretty much everything I do, but it's also changed ever so slightly over the years. Initially, I would have said I've always had a goal. Now, I know that goals don't work for everyone, so pick and choose from the wisdom of this if it works for you or not. But I like to have a goal. I like to have something that I'm working towards all the time, because it just helps me track my sense of progress on my ruler. So I have a goal. For example, at the moment, I'm training for the Gold Coast Marathon. But generally, it's taken me a long time to realize this, is that I always need a second goal, so that when I achieve the first goal, I don't lie on the couch for 6 months, which is something I've done more than once.
Yeah.
So have a goal and then have a second goal, bearing in mind that your second goal does not need to be bigger than your first goal. I'm not interested in this relentless pursuit of improvement. It's really just about keeping yourself moving. So if you want to go from a 5K to a 2K, that's fine. Or you do the 5K, but then the second time it's just about being happier or being more comfortable in your skin or wearing your new shoes or whatever. Have a goal and have a second goal, but underpinning that, more importantly, is have a why. So have a reason. Motivation is very short-lived, and goals are achievable and then they're done. So having something that underpins all of it is the reason to get up every day. So in my case, as I said, my why is very powerful. I run to mark a chapter in my life when I'm healthy, and I run to honor the people in my life who I love, who can't. But it's morphed a little bit too. I run to make myself proud. I run to make my kids proud. I run for personal health. I run for mental health. I run for lots of reasons. But at the core of it, I think, is this kind of memory of these two phenomenal women who can't run. So I carry them with me when I do. So I've found that that's really helped me on the days that it's raining or I'm slightly injured or I don't want to go or I've got too much work or whatever. It's very easy to make excuses. Motivation doesn't last long. But I always ask myself, why do I want to do this? And then I run that little script. And instantly my body changes. And I find myself, it's just easier to get up, put on the shoes and get out the door. So having a why I think it's been the cornerstone of my success.
I love that. And I also really commend you on talking about pride, because for a lot of good people, to feel proud of yourself feels like too much often. And I think that you owning that is amazing. And I'm really proud of you.
Thank you. Yes, it's a big one, isn't it? I think especially as women, we were told to sit down and shut up and be pretty and don't say anything. And it's very hard to sort of say, actually, I'm stepping into the space as a big, short-sighted, older, menopausal, red-faced, frizzy-haired woman who needs a hearing aid and runs like a duck. But I'm going to call myself an athlete. It's hard to find pride in that. But when you do, of course, it changes the story and it gives people, other people permission to come along for the ride. And it's also helped me really empathize, I think, and hopefully see things through the lens of how hard it must be for other people in other sectors of life, people of color or people from the LGBTQ community, or all of those people who are fighting for pride or for a sense of self. Mine is so privileged. Oh my God, all I'm looking for is, to show up at a fun run and not feel like a dork. So if that's hard for me, imagine how hard it is for other people in the community. So it's been a great tool for empathy and insight as well.
That's fantastic. I love that. And I've just got to say, congratulations on what an enormous 20-year journey. Not that, well, the whole of the life journey, but this has been incredible. And it's been such an honor to be alongside you while it's been unfolding. And I see you as an athlete now. You have gone from being the bookish friend to the athlete friend. So isn't it funny how you're changing what you've done, but the label has changed, and it's undeniable, 100%.
Thank you. But you should take a big part of the credit. You've been a huge part of it. I often think about you, and I know we don't connect all that often, but more than often, listen to the presentations you make via your channels. And I think about the various conversations we've had over the years, but also the doors you opened for me when we worked with various clients in the advocating spaces. So I do think you've laid the cobblestones that I'm standing on now. So you should take a lot of the credit too.
Well, that's very honourable. I really appreciate that. And we're just doing our thing, right? Absolutely. So thank you very much for
Oh,
today.
thank
Do you have
you.
any last words you'd like to leave us with, or wise quotes, or anything else?
Well, if you think that you would like to try this weird running thing, then I would fully advocate that you do. Put on a pair of shoes and just try. Go and run for 30 seconds and then walk for a minute and then run for 30 seconds and walk for a minute. And do that for 10 or 20 minutes and then ask yourself at the end, how do you feel? And if it's better, then think about continuing with that journey, because it opens doors to possibilities that you can't even conceive of right now. It's been transformative in every sense of the word, and please give yourself that opportunity. Be
Oh,
intentional and be active.
absolutely, absolutely. I know that running totally saved my life after losing my brother, and it's amazing. And you know what's so great is it kind of becomes a new normal when you've
Mm.
like started, I've run 3 times this week or something, or whatever your goal is, or once a week or whatever. And then you get to different levels of things, and that's what the normal is. And then you keep just doing that or growing it or whatever. And I love that your level changes
Yeah.
just bit by bit. And it's so incredibly powerful watching the transformation journey. So thanks
Oh, thank
again
you.
for being here today. I'm just so honoured to hear the deeper details of your story and how you're impacting people's lives.
Oh, thank you. Thank you so much for the opportunity to have this chat. I've loved it.